February 3rd, 1953. North Pacific Ocean, 2:15 in the morning. The world outside was darkness layered upon darkness, fog, sleet, and the slow metallic breath of the sea. Inside the Combat Information Center of the United States ship Hampton, a destroyer assigned to radar picket duty near the Aleutian Islands, the only light came from a circle of green. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Lieutenant Mark Garrison stood over the radar console, hands folded behind his back, eyes fixed on the glowing sweep. Each rotation traced the same familiar emptiness, the cold nothingness of a winter patrol. But this time, as the beam crossed the northern quadrant, a faint spark appeared, a single trembling echo. Small, then gone, then there again. He leaned closer. Range 120 miles. Bearing 035. Beyond American waters. At first he thought it was weather clutter. Ice, perhaps, carried on the wind. He adjusted the gain, steadied the line. The echo sharpened, moved. Slowly, deliberately. Garrison turned to the young operator seated beside him. "Run the sweep again," he said quietly. The beam rolled over the screen. The echo was still there, and now it had a tail. Motion across time. He called the bridge. "Combat Information Center to Captain Voss. We have a contact. Bearing 035, range 120 miles. Possible surface target." A pause crackled back through the intercom. The captain's voice was calm, edged with fatigue. Probably a reflection. "Atmospheric ghost. Log it and maintain course." Garrison acknowledged, but did not look away. He knew the difference between static and intent. He had seen radar phantoms before, but never one that moved like this, steady and slow, as if tracing the edge of forbidden water. Outside, the wind rose. Snow hissed against the hull. Inside, the destroyer hummed with electricity and doubt. Every sweep of the antenna reached farther into darkness the human eye could never touch. At 2:20, the echo flickered again. Closer now. The coordinates shifted 5 miles south. Lieutenant Mark Garrison entered a single line in the logbook. Unidentified contact. Constant bearing, decreasing range. Then he set his pen down and stared into the glow. For a long moment he said nothing. The bridge lights dimmed to red for night operations, and the sea outside vanished completely. Only the radar spoke. A pulse every 4 seconds, like the slow ticking of fate. He exhaled and whispered to himself, "If it is a ghost, it knows where to find us. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and join our growing community of history lovers and Cold War storytellers. Your support helps us bring forgotten moments and untold legends back to life." February 3rd, 1953. Morning. The North Pacific was gray and endless. The storm that had howled through the night left a bruised sky and a sea like hammered steel. The United States ship Hampton rolled through the swell, its decks glazed with ice. From the bridge, the horizon looked clean, featureless, and innocent, a perfect disguise for everything it hid. In the wardroom, Lieutenant Mark Garrison stood beside a chart table while Commander Harlan Voss read through the night log. Voss was an older man, silver at the temples, voice shaped by 3 wars and too many reports. He spoke without looking up. "Your ghost made quite a mess of my radar schedule, Lieutenant. Atmospheric bounce. Happens when the ion layer shifts." Garrison said nothing at first. He could still see that echo in his mind. Small, alive, deliberate. "With respect, sir, that was no bounce," he replied quietly. "It held range and bearing for 12 minutes. Moved on a course consistent with a surfaced vessel." Voss looked at him then, one eyebrow raised. And what would a surfaced vessel be doing 100 miles inside Soviet airspace? Fishing for ghosts? He closed the logbook with a flat hand. "This is a picket patrol, not a ferry hunt. Log the anomaly, Lieutenant, and get some sleep." Outside the portholes, the world was white and cold. Ice smoke drifted off the waves. Somewhere beyond that gray horizon lay the Kamchatka Peninsula, the invisible wall dividing peace from war. Garrison lingered after the briefing. On the bulkhead, the radar chart still showed faint pencil lines tracing last night's contact. He drew a small circle around the position and marked the time, 2:15. He did not know why he wrote it, only that it felt like the beginning of something. The crew moved through the day as they always did, chipping ice, checking bearings, listening to static from the shortwave set that never stopped whispering. By dusk, the sea calmed, but Garrison's mind did not. Each time the antenna rotated, he imagined that faint pulse returning. That night, when the ship went dark for watch, he returned to the Combat Information Center. The radar screen glowed again, steady and clean. For a long time, nothing moved. Then, just before 2:15, the green beam touched the upper edge of the display, and a single echo blinked to life exactly where it had been before. Garrison stared at it until the sweep came around again. The echo remained, bright and patient, as though it had been waiting for him. February 5, 1953. The sea had frozen into stillness. Every wave seemed slower, heavier, as if the ocean itself were listening. The United States ship Hampton cut a pale wake through the mist, its radar mast slicing the sky like a needle through fabric. Each night the air grew colder, and the echo returned. Lieutenant Mark Garrison began keeping a separate notebook hidden under the console panel. Each page held the same entry. Contact detected. Bearing 035, range decreasing. The coordinates changed, but the pattern did not. The ghost moved closer with mathematical precision. 10 miles per night, always appearing at 2:15 in the morning, always fading before dawn. The crew began to whisper about it. Radar operators joked nervously that the lieutenant's ghost had better aim than their torpedo drills. Some claimed they heard faint signals in the static, rhythmic pulses that almost sounded like Morse. Others swore it was just sea return. But Garrison could see the difference. The pulse was too clean, too intentional. Commander Voss ordered the frequency logs erased after each watch. "No reason to clutter the reports with weather phantoms," he said. But Garrison made carbon copies of every chart. The more he studied them, the more certain he became. The contact was not a mistake. It was a vessel, large, slow, and silent. On the seventh night, a snow squall wrapped the Hampton in white silence. Visibility dropped to nothing. The radar screen flickered with interference, each sweep a blur of ghosts. Garrison adjusted the filters. The noise cleared, and there it was again. Same bearing, closer now. He leaned toward the microphone. "Bridge, Combat Information Center. Contact confirmed. Bearing 035, range 60 miles. The captain's voice came back through static. 60 miles? That would put it on our side of the line. You're sure? Positive, sir. Then I suggest you hope it is an iceberg. The transmission cut out. Garrison stared at the scope, jaw set. The echo pulsed once, bright and strong, then split. Two separate signals moving in formation. His pulse matched the radar's rhythm. He turned to the young operator beside him, Ensign Holt, whose eyes were wide and uncertain. "Record both returns," Garrison said. "Mark them Alpha and Bravo. And keep your voice down." The operator hesitated. "Sir, should we notify command?" Garrison shook his head slowly. "Not yet. They would not believe us." At 3 o'clock, the echoes faded. The radar returned to emptiness. But the feeling did not. It lingered. The sense that something immense and unseen had passed just beyond the reach of light. By dawn, frost coated every metal surface aboard the ship. The crew moved silently, haunted by the stillness. When Garrison looked east, the horizon was pale silver, the kind of light that made men doubt their memories. He opened his notebook and wrote a single sentence beneath the night's log. "Every night it comes closer. Every night the sea remembers." He closed the book, pressed it flat against his palm, and felt the faint vibration of the radar mast overhead. A heartbeat echoing through steel. February 10, 1953. 2:10 in the morning. The storm had vanished, leaving a silence so complete it felt like sound waiting to be born. The sky was a sheet of cloud without stars. The sea below it was black glass, broken only by the faint white line of the destroyer's bow wave. Inside the Combat Information Center, the air was warm, electric, and tense. Lieutenant Mark Garrison stood at his post, staring at the radar screen. Around him, the room hummed with restrained breath. Ensign Holt's hands hovered above the range dials. The antenna turned, the sweep passed, and the scope bloomed with light. 3 echoes, not 1, not 2, 3. Each was large, steady, and moving, 90 miles north in perfect line astern. "Multiple contacts, Captain," Garrison said into the intercom. "Bearing 035 closing fast." The reply came instantly. Commander Harlan Voss sounded wide awake. "Confirm target motion." "They're moving, sir. Speed 12 knots. Formation alignment is consistent with a surface group." The captain's pause was longer this time. "Are you suggesting Soviet ships this far south?" "I'm not suggesting, sir. I'm reading them." Voss appeared moments later, still in his nightcoat, his face pale in the green light. He looked at the screen, lips pressed tight. "Can sonar confirm?" The sonar officer's voice crackled through the speaker. "Negative contact. Sea state's clean." Garrison pointed to the screen. "They're out there, moving steady." Voss folded his arms. "Until sonar confirms, they are ghosts, Lieutenant." At 2:30, the first echo changed course. 10 degrees starboard, then vanished. A minute later, a new one appeared directly behind the Hampton, 40 miles astern. Garrison whispered, "They're circling us." The captain turned sharply. "What did you say?" "They're shifting position, sir. It looks like coordination." Static filled the intercom. Then a deep tone, low, resonant, flooded the speakers. The radar beam wavered. The entire scope blurred into haze. Ensign Holt shouted, "We're being jammed!" The radar signal stuttered, scattered, then froze. When the interference cleared, the echoes had doubled. 6 contacts now, surrounding the Hampton in a wide arc. Garrison's pulse hammered. "They're painting us, sir. That's active radar return, not our transmission." Voss leaned closer to the console. "Are you saying they can see us?" "Yes, Captain, and they want us to know it." For a moment the room was silent except for the slow turning of machinery. Then the speaker crackled again. A voice, faint through static. A man's voice, heavy with an accent. "United States ship Hampton. You are entering restricted water. You see what does not exist. Turn back." The voice faded. The line went dead. No one spoke. The radar scope cleared completely, all echoes gone. The sea had erased itself. Commander Voss straightened slowly. "Lieutenant Garrison," he said, "you will make no mention of this transmission in your report." "Sir?" "I said no mention. We have our orders." Garrison met his eyes. "And what if it comes back?" Voss hesitated. "Then I hope to God it is still only a ghost." Outside the wind began to rise again, and somewhere beyond the black horizon the sea answered with a whisper of static, the sound of something unseen, returning. February 10th, 1953. 3 o'clock in the morning. The United States ship Hampton held position in calm water, engines idling, antenna spinning slow arcs through mist. The wind had died, but the air still carried the hum of energy, as if the storm had gone underground. Lieutenant Mark Garrison stood alone in the Combat Information Center, surrounded by the soft green light of the radar consoles. Commander Voss had ordered radio silence. The bridge was dark. Only the radar crew remained, eyes fixed on the glowing circle that had become their only horizon. For half an hour the screen was empty. Then, as the sweep passed the northern edge, a point of light appeared. One echo, then 2, then dozens. In seconds the scope was alive. A swarm of returns, bright, solid, too perfect to be noise. The entire sea ahead looked crowded with ships. Garrison's breath caught. "Contacts!" Multiple surface groups, bearing 035 through 180, range 20 to 70 miles. The operator whispered, "That's impossible. That's a fleet." The captain arrived moments later, eyes wide, jaw tight. "Report." Garrison stepped aside. "We're picking up a full formation, sir. At least 20 targets." Voss stared at the scope. "There's no way they moved in that fast. This is deception. Radar ghosts." But even as he spoke, the signals began to move. Coordinated, precise. Columns forming, turning, advancing. Each echo kept its spacing like ships in parade. The ship's intercom crackled. Sonar reports nothing. "Sea's empty, Captain." Voss turned to Garrison. "Explain this." Garrison's voice was low, almost reverent. "They are not there, sir. But the signal is real. We are seeing reflections. Deliberate ones." He traced a line on the screen with his finger. "The source is here, 20 miles north. A generator, maybe. Something bouncing our own radar back at us. Electronic warfare? The captain asked. Worse, Garrison said softly. It's a weapon. Outside, the sea began to shimmer faintly under the cloud cover, as if light were flickering beneath the waves. The ship's electrical systems dimmed, then surged. Static filled the headphones. The echoes shifted again, this time closing in, compressing the formation around the Hampton. Alarms sounded. Metal vibrated. The crew braced for collision, but nothing struck. Only the radar screamed. Too many signals, too close, multiplying like reflections in a hall of mirrors. Garrison's hands flew over the controls. They're feeding our own pulse back to us, amplifying it. Every return doubles. He switched frequencies. The screen cleared for an instant. Then a single heavy contact appeared dead ahead. Range 20 miles. Size enormous. That one's real, he whispered. The fire control radar locked automatically. The mechanical computers whirred to life, turning data into firing angles. Garrison looked at Voss. Permission to track, sir. Track only, Voss said. No fire. Garrison's voice was steady. Aye, sir. Tracking. The guns rotated above deck, unseen in the dark. The echo advanced, slow and deliberate. Then, without warning, the radar return expanded. A blinding flare of light across the screen. Power surged. Circuits overloaded. Every console went dead. The room plunged into silence. Only the low groan of the ship remained. When the power returned 30 seconds later, the screen showed a single point. Range 20 miles. Stationary. Garrison adjusted the gain. The echo resolved into shape. A hull outline. Long, narrow, rising toward the surface. A submarine, he breathed. Surfaced. Voss stared. Soviet. No flag, no transponder, no signal. Then, slowly, the blip began to fade. Not retreating, just dissolving into the noise. Garrison whispered, It is diving. The screen cleared completely. The sea outside was once again blank, silent and endless. Commander Voss spoke quietly, as if afraid the water itself could hear him. End record of contact at 0330. Log as unidentified radar return. Garrison didn't answer. His eyes stayed on the screen long after it was empty. He could still feel the pulse beneath the floor. The faint, rhythmic heartbeat of something deep below. The fleet may have vanished, he thought, but its echo remains. February 11th, 1953. Morning. The sea was calm again, pale beneath the gray light of dawn. Ice drifted past the hull of the United States ship Hampton like forgotten letters floating across a silent desk. The storm, the echoes, the phantom fleet. All of it seemed to have vanished with the night. In the Combat Information Center, Lieutenant Mark Garrison sat alone, the radar console humming softly before him. The screen was clean. No returns, no ghosts. He rubbed his eyes, unsure whether the fatigue or the silence frightened him more. At 800 hours, the watch changed. The young radar operator Ensign Holt stepped in, yawning, coffee steaming in his hand. Quiet morning, sir, he said. Yes, Garrison replied. Too quiet. He switched the radar to long-range sweep, a routine check before shutting down for maintenance. The antenna turned once, twice, 3 times. Nothing. Then, on the 4th rotation, a single echo appeared at the center of the screen. Garrison frowned. Range reading 0.0 miles. He adjusted the gain. The signal grew brighter. Must be a calibration error, Holt muttered. Garrison's hand froze above the dial. The echo was solid, fixed, exactly where the ship was. He leaned closer. That signal is coming from inside the vessel. Holt looked up sharply. Inside, sir? Yes, Garrison said. The radar's painting us. The sound of the ship's machinery seemed to fade. The console lights flickered once, then steadied. The echo remained. One perfect dot, pulsing in rhythm with the ship's own electrical hum. Cut power to the array, Garrison ordered. Holt threw the switch. The antenna outside stopped turning, but the echo did not disappear. It stayed, unwavering, silent, and alive. For a moment neither man spoke. Then, from the intercom, a faint whisper rose through static. The same voice as before, slow and distant. You see what does not exist. The sound faded. The radar went dark. Hours later, when Commander Voss reviewed the logs, he found the final entry written in Garrison's hand. Unidentified contact. Origin unknown. Last recorded at 0 range. He ordered the record sealed. The report was never filed. Years afterward, when declassified archives listed unexplained radar incidents of the Cold War, one stood out. February 11, 1953, North Pacific, coordinates redacted. The description was brief. Ghost echo. Source unresolved. And below that, in faded ink, a single line added years later by an anonymous reviewer. Perhaps the machine finally learned to see itself.